Let's get ready for the Washington real estate exam with 100 questions on state-specific laws, principles, practice, and more. And don't miss what's happening in the bottom corner. It'll be key to your prep. We'll tell you how in a minute. Now let's get started.
Let's get started with a review of Washington real estate law and practice. Fair housing laws in Washington. Which of the following is a protected class under the Fair Housing Act in Washington? Is it A, pet owners, B, race, C, employment status, or D, dietary preference? The answer is B, race. The Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. These protections ensure equitable access to housing opportunities. What action is considered illegal under the Fair Housing Act's prohibition against discrimination? Is it A, offering a smaller security deposit for females, B, advertising apartment availability, C, refusing to allow pets, or D, setting a uniform policy for rent deadlines? The answer is A, offering a smaller security deposit for females. Discriminatory practices under the Fair Housing Act include denial or variance in terms of housing based on protected classes such as sex. This ensures fair treatment for all individuals.
Have you noticed the code in the bottom corner? Next time you're stumped, take that code to birdsey.ai for immediate help and a free study session with Birdsey, your personal AI study partner. Plus, you'll get access to hundreds of additional questions, helping you move closer to passing your exam with confidence. The next time you're feeling unsure or stuck, give it a try.
A landlord in Washington denies housing based on familial status. Which law does this violate? Is it A, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, B, Fair Housing Act, C, Equal Credit Opportunity Act, or D, Landlord and Tenant Act? The answer is B, Fair Housing Act. The Fair Housing Act ensures no discrimination occurs against individuals due to familial status, ensuring equal opportunity in housing. This federal law is paramount in protecting family rights. Which agency enforces fair housing laws in Washington? Is it A, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, B, Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, C, Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, or D, Environmental Protection Agency? The answer is B, Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. The Department of Housing and Urban Development enforces housing discrimination laws, ensuring compliance with the Fair Housing Act's prohibition against discriminatory practices in real estate. What is not a valid reason to reject a tenant application under the Fair Housing Act in Washington? Is it A, poor credit history, B, number of children, C, criminal history, or D, insufficient income? The answer is B, number of children. Rejecting a tenant due to familial status is illegal under the Fair Housing Act. This law aims to prevent discrimination based on the presence or number of children in a family. In Washington, what is considered a prohibited practice under the Fair Housing Law? Is it A, refusing to sell a property to someone over age 65, B, refusing to rent to a family with children, C, rejecting a tenant based on credit score, or D, refusing to install specific amenities for tenants? The answer is B, refusing to rent to a family with children. The Federal Fair Housing Act and Washington state law prohibit housing discrimination based on familial status, among other protected classes. Rejecting families with children is a direct violation. What must landlords in Washington ensure when asking for tenant information under fair housing laws? Is it A, collect consistent information from all applicants, B, only request financial information from minority applicants, C, request details about an applicant's family planning, or D, exclude any request for credit history? The answer is A. Collect consistent information from all applicants. Fair housing laws mandate equal treatment, meaning landlords should ask for the same information and apply the same criteria across all applicants to avoid discrimination. Real estate contracts in Washington. In Washington, which of the following is a required element for a real estate contract to be enforceable? Is it A. Verbal agreement, B. Consideration, C. Notarized signatures, or D. Escrow service? The answer is B. Consideration. The key elements of a real estate contract in Washington include offer, acceptance, consideration, legal capacity, and a written format. Consideration involves the exchange of something of value, which is necessary for the contract's validity. What is the purpose of the earnest money provision in a Washington real estate contract? Is it A. To serve as a performance incentive, B. To cover inspection fees, C. To ensure a fixed interest rate, or D. To provide title insurance? The answer is A. To serve as a performance incentive. Earnest money is a deposit made to a seller signaling the buyer's good faith in a transaction. It's held in escrow until closing and is applied towards the purchase price. Under Washington state law, how long does a buyer generally have to rescind an offer after signing a real estate contract? Is it A. 3 business days, B. 5 calendar days, C. Until midnight of the third day, or D. No statutory rescission period? The answer is D. No statutory rescission period. In Washington, there is no statutory rescission period that automatically applies to real estate purchase agreements unless specifically defined in the contract or negotiated in contingencies. What role does the real estate broker play in the execution of a sales contract in Washington? Is it A. Drafting legal terms for the contract, B. Facilitating the negotiation and signing, C. Certifying the validity of the contract, or D. Approving financing terms? The answer is B. Facilitating the negotiation and signing. A real estate broker in Washington facilitates negotiations between buyer and seller, assists in the correct completion of the purchase contract, and ensures proper understanding and signing by the parties involved. In Washington, who is responsible for ensuring the accuracy of the legal description in a real estate contract? Is it A. The buyer, B. The seller, C. The real estate attorney or title company, or D. The lender? The answer is C. The real estate attorney or title company. The legal description of a property in a real estate contract must be precise. It is typically verified by a real estate attorney or title company to ensure its accuracy, avoiding disputes or title issues. In Washington state, which document is typically used to convey real property ownership from a seller to a buyer? Is it A. Deed, B. Bill of sale, C. Lien, or D. Lease? The answer is A. Deed. A deed is essential in real estate transactions for transferring property ownership. Washington state requires deeds to be in written form to ensure clarity of ownership transfer. What is the legal implication of a time is of the essence clause in a Washington real estate contract? Is it A. Deadlines are flexible, B. Parties can negotiate deadlines, C. Failure to meet deadlines can void the contract, or D. Deadlines are suggestions? The answer is C. Failure to meet deadlines can void the contract. A time is of the essence clause emphasizes that all specified deadlines in the contract are vital, and failure to comply can lead to breach and possible termination of the contract.
If you're finding this helpful, please take a minute to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, useful tips, and complimentary study sessions with Birdsey.
Disclosures required by Washington law. Which of the following disclosures is required by Washington law when selling property? Is it A, lead-based paint disclosure, B, zoning changes disclosure, C, flood risk disclosure, or D, mold disclosure? The answer is A, lead-based paint disclosure. Washington law requires sellers to disclose lead-based paint hazards in properties built before 1978 under the Federal Residential Lead-Based Paint Hazard Reduction Act. What form must sellers in Washington complete to disclose property conditions? Is it A, seller's real property disclosure form, B, seller disclosure statement, C, real estate condition report, or D, property condition statement? The answer is B, seller disclosure statement. In Washington, sellers are legally required to complete the seller disclosure statement, which outlines any material defects in the property. When is the seller obligated to update the disclosure statement in Washington? Is it A, at any point before closing, B, only if requested by the buyer, C, when aware of new material defects, or D, after the inspection period? The answer is C, when aware of new material defects. In Washington, sellers must update the disclosure statement if they become aware of new material defects in the property before the sale closes. If a buyer receives a late seller disclosure statement in Washington, what option do they have? Is it A, file a lawsuit for non-disclosure, B, cancel the purchase within 3 business days, C, renegotiate the purchase price, or D, no options available? The answer is B, cancel the purchase within 3 business days. Washington law allows buyers to cancel the purchase contract within 3 business days of receiving the seller disclosure statement if it was received late. What is the purpose of Washington's property condition disclosure law? Is it A, to ensure the property adheres to city code, B, to provide buyers with information about property conditions, C, to certify the property is free of defects, or D, to verify property tax assessments? The answer is B, to provide buyers with information about property conditions. Washington's property condition disclosure law is designed to ensure sellers provide buyers with a comprehensive understanding of any known material defects or issues with the property, promoting informed decision-making. Which document does Washington State require from sellers to detail the property's environmental hazards? Is it A, environmental addendum, B, hazardous condition disclosure, C, seller disclosure statement, Form 17, or D, environmental impact report? The answer is C, seller disclosure statement, Form 17. Washington mandates the use of the seller disclosure statement, Form 17, to provide detailed information about the property's condition, including any known environmental hazards. In Washington, what does the term latent defect refer to in a property disclosure? Is it A, visible cosmetic imperfections, B, previously repaired issues, C, hidden faults not visible during inspection, or D, legal zoning problems? The answer is C, hidden faults not visible during inspection. A latent defect is a hidden issue in a property that a buyer would not readily identify during an inspection. Sellers in Washington should disclose these known issues to buyers. Transfer of title in Washington. What is the primary document required to legally transfer real property ownership in Washington State? Is it A, a purchase and sale agreement, B, a deed, C, an inspection report, or D, a title policy? The answer is B, a deed. In Washington State, a deed is the document used to convey real property from one individual to another. It must be properly executed, delivered, and accepted for the transfer to be legally recognized. Which type of deed in Washington State offers the greatest protection to the grantee? Is it A, quitclaim deed, B, special warranty deed, C, general warranty deed, or D, bargain and sale deed? The answer is C, general warranty deed. A general warranty deed in Washington provides comprehensive guarantees to the grantee. It warrants that the grantor holds clear title to a piece of real estate and has the right to sell it to the grantee. In Washington state, how long does a property buyer have to file a complaint of warranty violation after acquiring property via a warranty deed? Is it A, 1 year, B, 4 years, C, 6 years, or D, 10 years? The answer is C, 6 years. In Washington state, a property buyer has 6 years to file a complaint for breach of warranty after a purchase made through a warranty deed, as per the state's statutory limitation for written contracts. What is the primary role of the title insurance in the process of transferring title in Washington? Is it A, to grant ownership rights to the buyer, B, to ensure the buyer gets a valid title free of liens, C, to replace escrow in the transaction, or D, to appraise the property's market value? The answer is B, to ensure the buyer gets a valid title free of liens. Title insurance is critical in real estate transactions in Washington, providing protection against past title defects, liens, or encumbrances unknown at the time of purchase, ensuring a secure transfer of title. Which of the following is not a requirement for a valid deed in Washington? Is it A, signature of the grantor, B, consideration listed, C, description of the property, or D, identification of the parties? The answer is B, consideration listed. In Washington, a valid deed requires signatures, identification of parties, and a description of the property. Although consideration is often included, it is not mandatory for the deed's validity. Which party is responsible for clearing any liens on a property before transferring title in Washington state? Is it A, the buyer, B, the seller, C, the lender, or D, the title company? The answer is B, the seller. In Washington state, the seller is responsible for clearing any liens on a property before the title is transferred to the buyer. This ensures the buyer receives a clear title. Which document serves as evidence that a title transfer has occurred in Washington state? Is it A, deed, B, title insurance, C, purchase agreement, or D, inspection report? The answer is A, deed. In Washington state, a deed, such as a warranty deed or quitclaim deed, is the legal document that signifies the transfer of title from the seller to the buyer.
Notice the code in the corner? When you're stumped by a question, enter it at birdsey.ai for immediate help. Enjoy complimentary study sessions and access to hundreds of additional questions to help you pass your exam with confidence.
Earnest money and escrow in Washington. What is earnest money typically used for in a real estate transaction in Washington? Is it A, to reduce the loan amount needed by the buyer, B, to demonstrate the buyer's commitment to purchasing the property, C, to pay for the closing costs, or D, to compensate the real estate agent directly? The answer is B, to demonstrate the buyer's commitment to purchasing the property. In Washington, earnest money is a deposit made by a buyer to show commitment when making an offer on a property. It indicates serious interest and is held in escrow as per the agreement. Who is typically responsible for holding the earnest money deposit in escrow in Washington? Is it A, the buyer's financial institution, B, a third-party escrow company, C, the seller directly, or D, the real estate agent representing the buyer? The answer is B, a third-party escrow company. In Washington, earnest money is usually held by a third-party escrow company. This arrangement protects both parties and provides a neutral and professional holding service until conditions of the sale are met. Under Washington law, what happens to the earnest money if a real estate transaction fails due to the buyer's fault? Is it A, the buyer receives a full refund of the earnest money? B, the earnest money is forfeited to the seller? C, the earnest money is returned to the escrow account? Or D, the earnest money is split between the seller and buyer's agents? The answer is B, the earnest money is forfeited to the seller. Washington law states that if the buyer defaults and no contingencies allow for a refund, the earnest money is generally forfeited to the seller as compensation for the failed transaction. What is the legal time frame for depositing earnest money into escrow after mutual acceptance in Washington state? Is it A, 48 hours, B, 72 hours, C, 1 week, or D, 5 business days? The answer is B, 2 hours. In Washington, earnest money must be deposited into an escrow account within 72 hours, 3 days, of mutual acceptance of the offer, ensuring quick and clear commitment from the buyer. What are the primary responsibilities of an escrow officer in a Washington real estate transaction? Is it A, negotiating contract terms, B, dispersing funds once transaction conditions are met, C, providing legal advice to the parties, or D, inspecting the property for the buyer? The answer is B, dispersing funds once transaction conditions are met. An escrow officer's main duties include managing and dispersing funds once all transaction conditions are met. They ensure that the terms of the real estate agreement are carried out according to Washington law. What is the role of a real estate agent in managing earnest money in Washington? Is it A, agents are responsible for depositing earnest money into their personal accounts? B, agents must provide purchasers with a receipt once they receive the earnest money? C, agents decide when the earnest money should be refunded to the buyer? Or D, agents can use earnest money for advertising expenses? The answer is B, agents must provide purchasers with a receipt once they receive the earnest money. In Washington, once agents receive earnest money, they must keep it in a neutral place, usually an escrow account, and provide proper receipts. This avoids conflicts of interest and ensures funds are managed properly. Who typically determines how and when earnest money will be dispersed in Washington real estate transactions? Is it A, the buyer and seller through mutual agreement? B, the broker solely? C, the real estate commission? Or D, the escrow officer unilaterally? The answer is A, the buyer and seller through mutual agreement. In Washington, earnest money disbursement relies on mutual agreement between buyer and seller, often influenced by contractual conditions. This ensures the funds are distributed according to the agreed contract terms. Washington real estate taxes. Which of the following is exempt from Washington state's real estate excise tax? Is it A, transfer to a living trust, B, sale between family members, C, purchase under a lease agreement, or D, foreclosure sales? The answer is A, transfer to a living trust. Washington state exempts certain transfers, including those to a living trust if the grantor is the same. This is part of efforts to avoid taxing transfers within families or for estate planning. What is the basis for calculating the real estate excise tax in Washington? Is it A, assessed value, B, selling price, C, appraised value, or D, market value? The answer is B, selling price. The real estate excise tax in Washington is calculated based on the full selling price of the property, not its assessed, market, or appraised value. Sellers pay this tax during property transfers. Which government entity in Washington is responsible for administering the real estate excise tax? Is it A, Department of Licensing, B. City Tax Office, C. Department of Revenue, or D. County Treasurer? The answer is C. Department of Revenue. In Washington state, the Department of Revenue is the entity responsible for administering the real estate excise tax, though collection may be performed by local counties. How is the real estate excise tax paid in Washington? Is it A. by the buyer at closing, B. through monthly installments, C. by the seller at closing, or D. upon filing annual state taxes? The answer is C. by the seller at closing. In Washington state, the real estate excise tax is typically paid by the seller at the closing of the property sale. It is a one-time tax assessed on the selling price. What is generally not considered in Washington's real estate excise tax exemptions? Is it A. correction deeds, B. gift deeds, C. exchange of foreclosures, or D. government acquisitions? The answer is B. gift deeds. Gift deeds, unlike certain correction or government-related deeds, are generally subject to Washington's real estate excise tax unless they fall into specific exempting categories, such as transfers for no consideration. What is the primary purpose of Washington state's real estate excise tax? Is it A. to fund housing assistance programs, B. to regulate real estate transactions, C. to generate revenue for state and local governments, or D. to control property prices? The answer is C. to generate revenue for state and local governments. Washington state's real estate excise tax is mainly aimed at generating revenue for state and local governments, as outlined by state regulations. When is the real estate excise tax typically due in Washington? Is it A. at the beginning of the fiscal year, B. at the time of property listing, C. upon the recording of the deed, or D. after escrow closes? The answer is C. upon the recording of the deed. The real estate excise tax in Washington is due upon the recording of the deed at the county's office, confirming the transaction.
Notice the code in the corner? When you're stumped by a question, enter it at birdsey.ai for immediate help. Enjoy complimentary study sessions and access to hundreds of additional questions to help you pass your exam with confidence.
Washington Real Estate Licensing and Regulation. What is the minimum age requirement to apply for a real estate license in Washington state? Is it A. 18 years old, B. 21 years old, C. 25 years old, or D. 16 years old? The answer is A. 18 years old. In Washington state, applicants must be at least 18 years old to qualify for a real estate license, ensuring they are legally an adult before engaging in contracts and transactions. Which entity is responsible for overseeing real estate licensing in Washington state? Is it A. Washington Association of Realtors, B. Washington Department of Licensing, C. Washington Real Estate Commission, or D. Washington Real Estate Authority? The answer is B. Washington Department of Licensing. The Washington Department of Licensing oversees the issuance and regulation of real estate licenses in the state, ensuring compliance with state laws and consumer protection. What is required for a real estate salesperson to engage in licensed activities under a managing broker in Washington? Is it A. completing a written consent form, B. being registered with the Department of Licensing, C. holding a separate broker's license, or D. executing at least one real estate transaction? The answer is B. being registered with the Department of Licensing. In Washington, a real estate salesperson must be affiliated and registered under a licensed broker with the Department of Licensing. This provides legal backing to undertake real estate activities. How often must a real estate license in Washington be renewed? Is it A. annually, B. Every 2 years. C. Every 5 years. Or D. Quarterly. The answer is B. Every 2 years. In Washington, real estate licenses are renewed every 2 years, which helps ensure agents remain informed about legal changes and maintain professional competency. In Washington state, which of the following is a permissible activity for an unlicensed real estate assistant? Is it A. Conducting open houses without supervision? B. Providing administrative support? C. Negotiating real estate transactions? Or D. Creating property advertisements? The answer is B. Providing administrative support. Unlicensed assistants in Washington may carry out clerical tasks, but are prohibited from negotiating or conducting representations without being supervised by a licensed real estate professional. What is the consequence if a salesperson breaches the licensing laws in Washington state? Is it A. Permanent ban from the real estate industry? B. Imposition of fines and temporary suspension? C. Mandatory additional education hours? Or D. Immediate revocation of the driver's license? The answer is B. Imposition of fines and temporary suspension. A licensee violating Washington's licensing laws may face fines or suspension by the Department of Licensing, safeguarding the public interest and maintaining industry standards. When does a real estate license expire in Washington state if not renewed? Is it A. 3 years from issuance? B. 2 years from issuance? C. 1 year from issuance? Or D. 4 years from issuance? The answer is B. 2 years from issuance. Real estate licenses in Washington expire 2 years after issuance, requiring renewal to continue practicing legally as dictated by the Department of Licensing. Washington State Real Estate Commission, under DOL. What is the primary function of the Washington State Real Estate Commission? Is it A. Regulating advertising practices for real estate agents? B. Enforcing real estate finance laws? C. Licensing and regulating real estate agents and firms? Or D. Setting mortgage interest rates? The answer is C. Licensing and regulating real estate agents and firms. The Washington State Real Estate Commission oversees the licensing and regulation of real estate agents and firms, ensuring compliance with state laws. How many members are on the Washington State Real Estate Commission? Is it A. 5, B. 7, C. 9, or D. 11? The answer is B. 7. The Washington State Real Estate Commission is made up of 7 members who are appointed to establish guidelines and regulations for the real estate industry in Washington state. Who appoints the members of the Washington State Real Estate Commission? Is it A. the Washington State Legislature? B. the Governor of Washington? C. the Washington State Supreme Court? Or D. the Department of Licensing? The answer is B. the Governor of Washington. Commission members are appointed by the Governor of Washington to oversee the real estate profession's licensure and regulation, providing effective governance according to state law. What is required for a final order issued by the Washington Real Estate Commission? Is it A. majority approval by its members? B. approval by the Department of Licensing Director? C. unanimous approval by all commission members? Or D. legislative endorsement? The answer is A. majority approval by its members. For a final order to be issued by the Commission, a majority of the members' votes is necessary, facilitating the decision-making process within established legal frameworks. What powers does the Washington State Real Estate Commission have concerning disciplinary actions? Is it A. imposing fines up to a certain limit? B. amending state real estate laws? C. setting new licensure requirements? Or D. changing zoning laws? The answer is A. imposing fines up to a certain limit. The Washington State Real Estate Commission has the authority to impose fines and enforce disciplinary actions against license holders as per state regulations. Washington Real Estate Finance. Loan fundamentals. Which of the following is a primary function of a mortgage broker in Washington State? Is it A, originate loans for borrowers using their own capital? B, provide advice to clients on loan options and process applications? C, ensure compliance with real estate advertising regulations? Or D, act as a negotiator between home buyers and sellers? The answer is B, provide advice to clients on loan options and process applications. A mortgage broker acts as an intermediary who brings mortgage borrowers and lenders together, but does not use their own funds to originate mortgages. They focus on advising borrowers and processing their loan applications. What type of mortgage requires regular adjustments in interest rates in Washington? Is it A, fixed-rate mortgage, B, adjustable rate mortgage, C, balloon mortgage, or D, interest-only mortgage? The answer is B, adjustable rate mortgage ARM. An adjustable rate mortgage in Washington involves periodic changes in the interest rate and payment amount, reflecting fluctuations in the market conditions, typically after an initial fixed period. In Washington State, what is the primary purpose of a deed of trust? Is it A, to convey property ownership from seller to buyer? B, to secure a loan on real property by making it collateral? C, to provide insurance against property defects? Or D, to record improvements made to a property? The answer is B, to secure a loan on real property by making it collateral. A deed of trust in Washington uses property as security for a debt and involves a borrower, lender, and trustee, allowing foreclosure to occur outside of court if necessary. How does a point affect a loan transaction in Washington State real estate? Is it A, reduces the loan amount needed, B, lowers the interest rate on the loan, C, increases the property's appraised value, or D, provides insurance to the lender against borrower default? The answer is B, lowers the interest rate on the loan. In Washington real estate, a point is a fee paid upfront to reduce the interest rate over the life of a mortgage. 1 point is equivalent to 1% of the loan amount. What does the term amortization refer to in Washington real estate finance? Is it A, the adjustment of loan interest rates over time, B, the process of paying off a loan with regular payments of both principal and interest, C, the initial loan underwriting process, or D, the restructuring of a loan's term and conditions? The answer is B, the process of paying off a loan with regular payments of both principal and interest. Amortization in Washington real estate finance refers to the process of reducing a debt with regular, scheduled payments of both principal and interest over time until the loan balance reaches zero. What does a loan-to-value (LTV) ratio represent in Washington real estate finance? Is it A, the ratio of a property's loan amount to its market value, B, the ratio of the borrower's annual income to the loan amount, C, the total interest over the life of the loan, or D, the percentage of principal repaid each year? The answer is A, the ratio of a property's loan amount to its market value. LTV ratio is crucial for lenders to assess the risk of a loan. In Washington, a higher LTV means higher risk as it signifies less borrower equity in the property. In Washington real estate finance, what is a qualifying ratio used for? Is it A, to determine the interest rate on a new mortgage, B, to evaluate the borrower's ability to repay a loan, C, to assess property value for listing purposes, or D, to set the term of the mortgage loan? The answer is B, to evaluate the borrower's ability to repay a loan. Qualifying ratios help lenders determine if a borrower can afford the loan payments. They compare income to housing costs and debts, ensuring responsible lending practices. Loan types. Which loan type requires a property to meet minimum property standards set by HUD? Is it A, conventional loan, B, Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan, C, Department of Veterans Affairs, or VA loan, or D, U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA loan? The answer is B, Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan. FHA loans are insured by the Federal Housing Administration and require properties to meet HUD's minimum property standards to ensure safety and livability for borrowers. What is a defining feature of a VA loan? Is it A, requires private mortgage insurance, B, available only to eligible veterans and active duty service members, C, high down payment requirements, or D, limited to rural areas? The answer is B, available only to eligible veterans and active duty service members. VA loans are backed by the Department of Veterans Affairs and are offered to veterans, service members, and certain surviving spouses, featuring no down payment and no PMI. Which loan type typically requires the borrower to pay mortgage insurance premiums, MIP, for the life of the loan? Is it A, a Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan, B, a conventional loan, C, a Department of Veterans Affairs, or VA loan, or D, a U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA loan? The answer is A, a Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan. FHA loans, insured by the Federal Housing Administration, require MIP throughout the life of the loan if less than a 10% down payment is made. This ensures the loan is covered due to the low down payment. Which loan type is insured by a government agency known as FHA? Is it A, Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan, B, Department of Veterans Affairs, or VA loan, C, conventional loan, or D, U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA loan? The answer is A, Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan. An FHA loan is a mortgage insured by the Federal Housing Administration, designed to help borrowers with lower credit scores or down payments obtain financing for a home. What distinguishes a conventional loan from government-backed loans? Is it A, offered only in urban areas, B, requires mortgage insurance regardless of down payment, C, not insured or guaranteed by government agencies, or D, available only to first-time homebuyers? The answer is C, not insured or guaranteed by government agencies. Unlike FHA, VA, or USDA loans, conventional loans are not insured or guaranteed by the government, meaning lenders bear the risk and may require PMI when the down payment is under 20%. Which type of loan allows a borrower to purchase a home with 0% down payment? Is it A, conventional loan, B, Department of Veterans Affairs, or VA loan, C, Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan, or D, U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA loan? The answer is B, Department of Veterans Affairs, or VA loan. VA loans are available to eligible veterans and offer the benefit of buying a home with no down payment. This is a distinctive feature that differentiates them from other loan types. What is a typical feature of an FHA loan? Is it A, flexible credit requirements, B, no private mortgage insurance, C, only available for new homes, or D, requires a high credit score? The answer is A, flexible credit requirements. FHA loans are often chosen by buyers with less ideal credit as they feature more relaxed credit scoring requirements compared to conventional loans. This is a standard benefit of FHA loans.
Don't forget to comment below with your tips, challenges, and thoughts on exam preparation. Your experiences can make a big difference for others.
Loan qualifications. What is the maximum percentage of a borrower's income that FHA guidelines typically allow for mortgage payments and other monthly debts? Is it A, 28%, B, 31%, C, 36%, or D, 43%? The answer is D, 43%. FHA loans typically allow a maximum debt-to-income ratio of 43%, which includes mortgage payments and other monthly debts. This is designed to ensure affordability within the borrower's financial means. What is the primary purpose of underwriting in real estate finance? Is it A, to assess property value for mortgage insurance, B, to evaluate the borrower's creditworthiness, C, to set the interest rates for loans, or D, to establish property ownership rights? The answer is B, to evaluate the borrower's creditworthiness. Underwriting is the process of evaluating a borrower's credit history, employment, income, and other factors to determine the risk involved in lending and ensure they can meet loan obligations. How does the VA home loan program support eligible veterans? Is it A, by guaranteeing part of the loan amount for lenders, B, by offering a fixed interest rate for all loans, C, by subsidizing mortgage insurance for the borrower, or D, by ensuring all closing costs are covered? The answer is A, by guaranteeing part of the loan amount for lenders. The VA home loan program guarantees a portion of the loan, which protects lenders and typically allows eligible veterans to purchase without a down payment and at competitive interest rates. In Washington, what is considered a jumbo loan? Is it A, a loan amount above $548,250 for single-family homes, B, a loan amount above $647,200 for all properties, C, a loan amount that requires more than 20% down, or D, a loan given to high-income earners only? The answer is A, a loan amount above $548,250 for single-family homes. Jumbo loans exceed the conforming loan limits as defined by the FHFA, which impacts the lending guidelines and typically requires larger down payments and stricter credit criteria. What type of mortgage allows a homeowner to use the equity of their home to borrow money while still occupying the property? Is it A, adjustable rate mortgage, B, reverse mortgage, C, balloon mortgage, or D, interest-only mortgage? The answer is B, reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage is available to homeowners aged 62 and older, enabling them to convert home equity into funds while remaining in the property, commonly used for additional retirement income. Which of the following is required for a borrower to qualify for a conventional loan in Washington? Is it A, good credit score, B, participation in a federal housing program, C, access to veteran benefits, or D, extensive rental history? The answer is A, good credit score. To qualify for a conventional loan in Washington, good credit is typically essential, as it indicates reliability and a lower risk to lenders, differentiating conventional from government-backed loans like FHA or VA. What does the term debt-to-income ratio signify in the context of loan qualification? Is it A, the ratio of the borrower's existing debts to their income, B, the borrower's monthly mortgage payment as a percentage of income, C, the ratio of mortgage debt to property's value, or D, the comparison between interest rates and income growth? The answer is A, the ratio of the borrower's existing debts to their income. Debt-to-income, DTI ratio, is crucial in loan qualification. It calculates the percentage of a borrower's gross monthly income used to cover debt repayment, guiding lenders in evaluating creditworthiness. The loan application process. Which document is typically required to verify a borrower's income during the loan application process? Is it A, credit report, B, W-2 form, C, property deed, Or D, loan estimate? The answer is B, W-2 form. The W-2 form is crucial for lenders to confirm the borrower's annual income, ensuring the borrower qualifies for the desired loan amount under federal guidelines. What is the primary purpose of the loan estimate form? Is it A, to approve the loan, B, to provide detailed credit history, C, to outline loan terms and estimated costs, or D, to appraise the property's value? The answer is C, to outline loan terms and estimated costs. The loan estimate form, required under the TILA-RESPA Integrated Disclosure Rule, gives borrowers insight into their prospective loan terms and costs, promoting informed decision-making. What information is typically not required on a standard loan application? Is it A, Social Security number, B, purpose of loan, C, employer's phone number, or D, borrower's employment status? The answer is C, employer's phone number. The loan application form typically requires comprehensive financial and identification details. However, the employer's phone number is often unnecessary unless verification specifics arise. During the loan application process, when is a borrower most likely to encounter the home loan toolkit? Is it A, after closing the loan, B, at the time of a formal loan offer, C, at the beginning of the application process, or D, after signing the purchase contract? The answer is C, at the beginning of the application process. The Home Loan Toolkit is a key resource provided by lenders to borrowers at the application stage, offering information on the mortgage process and helping borrowers understand costs and responsibilities. Which of the following is used to assess a borrower's ability to repay a mortgage? Is it A, debt-to-income ratio, B, appraisal value, C, down payment amount, or D, loan-to-value ratio? The answer is A, debt-to-income ratio. The debt-to-income ratio is crucial in evaluating whether an applicant can feasibly meet loan payments given existing debts. Lenders rely on this ratio to prevent issuing loans to over-leveraged borrowers. During the loan application process, what does a lender assess using the borrower's credit history? Is it A, income stability, B, creditworthiness, C, property value, or D, interest rate eligibility? The answer is B, creditworthiness. A lender evaluates a borrower's credit history to gauge creditworthiness, which affects loan approval decisions. This process is crucial in determining the risk involved in lending to the borrower. Underwriting for Washington real estate. Which factor is most significant for an underwriter when evaluating a real estate loan application in Washington? Is it A, credit score, B, loan amount, C, property location, or D, borrower's age? The answer is A, credit score. Underwriting in Washington emphasizes the borrower's credit score as it indicates financial stability and repayment capability. The Washington State Department of Financial Institutions underscores the credit score's importance. In Washington, how does underwriters' assessment of a property's value influence the loan approval process? Is it A, it determines the loan approval directly, B, it helps establish the loan-to-value ratio, C, it serves as the main criteria for interest rates, or D, it has no impact on loan approval? The answer is B, it helps establish the loan-to-value ratio. The assessed property value is integral to calculating the loan-to-value ratio, which affects loan terms and approval likelihood in Washington. Accurate property valuation is essential to mitigate risk. What role does a borrower's employment history play in Washington's underwriting process for real estate loans? Is it A, determines credit score adjustments, B, indicates income stability, C, establishes property valuation, or D, affects interest rate decisions? The answer is B, indicates income stability. In Washington, underwriters consider employment history to verify consistent income, crucial for assessing a borrower's capacity to sustain mortgage payments. Employment history contributes significantly to risk assessment. How does the debt-to-income ratio affect underwriting decisions in Washington real estate finance? Is it A, it determines borrower eligibility, B, it sets property tax rates, C, it impacts appraisal values, or D, it predicts future income changes? The answer is A, it determines borrower eligibility. A key metric, the debt-to-income ratio, measures financial health in Washington's underwriting, affecting loan eligibility by evaluating if borrowers can manage new debt obligations comfortably. What documentation is typically required from borrowers during the underwriting process in Washington? Is it A, income statement, loan application, housing contract, B, credit report, income verification, and asset statements, C, past property sales records, or D, detailed business plans? The answer is B, credit report, income verification, and asset statements. Underwriters in Washington require credit reports, income verification, and asset statements to establish a comprehensive financial picture, ensuring borrowers meet the lending criteria reliably. This documentation is vital for assessing risk. What is the primary purpose of an underwriter in Washington's real estate finance? Is it A, to assess borrower creditworthiness and property value, B, to oversee real estate transactions, C, to prepare loan closing documents, or D, to inspect properties for sale? The answer is A, to assess borrower creditworthiness and property value. Underwriters in Washington assess both the borrower's creditworthiness and the property's value to ensure the loan is a sound investment. Their evaluations affect loan approval and terms. Loan closing. What primary document is needed to finalize the property transfer at a loan closing in Washington? Is it A, deed of trust, B, closing disclosure, C, warranty deed, or D, promissory note? The answer is C, warranty deed. In a real estate transaction in Washington, the warranty deed is the legal document that transfers property ownership from the seller to the buyer, finalized during the loan closing process. Which party typically ensures that all closing documents are signed and properly recorded in Washington? Is it A, the lender, B, the buyer's agent, C, the closing agent, or D, the seller? The answer is C, the closing agent. In Washington, the closing agent or escrow officer is responsible for ensuring that all documents are correctly signed and recorded, facilitating a smooth property transfer at closing. What is the purpose of a title insurance policy provided at closing in Washington? Is it A, protects the lender from value depreciation, B, guarantees property tax rates, C, covers defects in the property's title, or D, ensures the structure's physical condition? The answer is C, covers defects in the property's title. Title insurance in Washington is issued at closing to protect the buyer and lender against financial loss from defects in the property's title, such as liens or other encumbrances, ensuring legal ownership. What document details the transaction terms and final financial amounts at a loan closing in Washington? Is it A, settlement statement, B, purchase agreement, C, inspection report, or D, deed? The answer is A, settlement statement. The settlement statement, used in Washington real estate closings, itemizes all final amounts and breaks down the financial components of the transaction, ensuring both parties are aware of all costs involved. Who typically pays for the recording fees in a Washington real estate transaction closing? Is it A, the buyer, B, the seller, C, the lender, or D, the broker? The answer is A, the buyer. In Washington, buyers generally pay for recording fees at closing. These fees are part of the closing costs associated with documenting the new ownership in public records. What is the primary role of an escrow agent in a Washington real estate transaction closing? Is it A, to provide mortgage loan funds, B, to manage the funds and documents during the closing, C, to conduct the property appraisal, or D, to prepare the property deed? The answer is B, to manage the funds and documents during the closing. In Washington, escrow agents play a vital role in real estate transactions by managing the funds and documents involved, ensuring a smooth and legal completion of the closing process. Washington Mortgage Disclosure Requirements. Which document is required to detail the terms and conditions of a mortgage loan in Washington? Is it A, good faith estimate, B, truth in lending disclosure, C, loan estimate, or D, closing disclosure? The answer is C, loan estimate. In Washington, the loan estimate is required to provide borrowers with the terms and conditions of the mortgage loan. This is part of the Truth in Lending Act and Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act Integrated Disclosure Rule, TRID. What is the primary objective of the Washington Consumer Loan Act? Is it A, to regulate commercial leases, B, to protect consumers in mortgage transactions, C, to set property appraisal standards, or D, to enforce tax laws? The answer is B, to protect consumers in mortgage transactions. The Washington Consumer Loan Act governs the practices of mortgage brokers and lenders, focusing on protecting consumers by ensuring fair and equitable treatment in mortgage lending transactions. When must the closing disclosure be provided to borrowers under Washington mortgage disclosure requirements? Is it A, at the time of loan application, B, 1 day before closing, C, 3 business days before closing, or D, after the loan is finalized? The answer is C, 3 business days before closing. Under TRID, borrowers must receive the closing disclosure at least 3 business days before closing. This allows them to review final loan terms and costs, ensuring transparency and consumer protection in real estate transactions. What does the loan estimate not include in its disclosure? Is it A, estimated interest rate, B, closing costs, C, borrower's credit score, or D, monthly principal and interest? The answer is C, borrower's credit score. The loan estimate provides essential information about potential loan terms, interest rates, and closing costs, but does not contain personal information such as the borrower's credit score, which is regulated under different disclosures. Under Washington law, what form must lenders provide to detail settlement charges in residential mortgage transactions? Is it A, loan estimate, B, HUD-1 settlement statement, C, annual percentage rate disclosure, or D, default notice? The answer is A, loan estimate. In compliance with the TRID requirements, the loan estimate replaces previous settlement disclosures for residential mortgage transactions, facilitating greater transparency of closing costs for borrowers. In Washington, which disclosure must be provided within 3 days of a loan application? Is it A, HUD-1 settlement statement, B, loan estimate, C, closing disclosure, or D, servicing transfer disclosure? The answer is B, loan estimate. The loan estimate, required by the TILA-RESPA Integrated Disclosure Rule, provides essential information on the costs and features of a mortgage and must be issued within 3 business days after receiving the application. What does the Washington Mortgage Broker Practices Act require regarding broker disclosures? Is it A, disclosure must be made only after loan approval, B, written disclosure of estimated closing expenses, C, oral disclosure of all fees, or D, No disclosure requirements exist. The answer is B, written disclosure of estimated closing expenses. The Mortgage Broker Practices Act mandates that brokers provide written disclosure of the estimated closing costs to ensure transparency and inform borrowers before they finalize any agreements.
Thanks for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, tips, and tricks. And don't forget to visit birdsey.ai for complimentary study sessions with Birdsey, your AI-powered study partner.